Neem to give the presentation on behalf of Climate Action Network. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, co-facilitators. I am also painfully aware that this presentation stands before you and the reception that we're looking forward to, so I'll try and be brief. I would like to just take us through, on behalf of CAN International, and I'm sure you're aware that that is a global network of civil society organizations, over 550 civil society organizations. So what we'd like to do is take you through some of our observations in terms of the presentations today on non-Annex 1 mitigation actions. To start off with, just a set of guiding principles that essentially reaffirms many of the principles already outlined by parties in today's presentations and, of course, yesterday's. Because of the urgency, we believe that the global effort by all parties, as captured in the Convention, should be significantly enhanced. We also, the principle of promoting environmental integrity and equity, we affirm as a key principle, and everybody else did. CBDR and the respective capabilities issue is something that we've all spoken about. So these principles are generally what CAN supports and would affirm. And finally, of course, the two issues about developed countries needing to take the lead, both in terms of their own emission reductions and the levels of support provided, and that developing country actions will be taken in the context of sustainable development and poverty eradication. And we've, of course, seen many presentations that talk to those particular elements. Just a few observations that we would like to make as CAN. Many of the presentations, in fact, delivered by parties today highlighted this particular element of how NAMAs can relate to those low emission development strategies also captured in the Cancun Agreement. It would be important to see how we develop the methodologies and the approaches of looking at what are a diverse range of NAMAs that we've seen presented today and how that would relate to long-term planning. And there are examples of those that have been presented, and it would be useful to share those methodologies going forward. What we believe is that these strategies, these long-term strategies or plans, should in fact map out an ambitious and credible trajectory within countries towards achieving low-emission economies, and that the sum total of the national actions, all those NAMAs jointly as building blocks, should in fact match the ambition that has been set out, or the goals that have been set out by countries both in the short term and in the long term. And in that trajectory, there should be milestones in terms of those goals that are set and made very clear. Very importantly, and again demonstrated by many presentations today, is the fact that national actions in developing countries should strengthen the synergies that exist between their sustainable development objectives, such as poverty eradication, green jobs, equality, access to clean energy, and a number of other examples, of course, have been provided today. It is very important, and we believe this quite strongly, that finance and technology support, as well as capacity building, are part of the dual obligation of developed countries and is essential for both the preparation and the implementation of low-emission development strategies as well as NAMAs. We have, the next slide, an interesting tool called the Climate Action Tracker, which is basically an analysis of pledges by non-Annex 1 countries, and it does a track of pledges done by Annex 1 countries. And as you can see, I'm not sure if it's very visible, but the big dots indicate what the current pledges are, and what the smaller dots would talk about pledges if, the objectives that could be achieved if there was support and finance. So those are also indications of conditional pledges. And this is just a set of countries that are examples. If we could go to just the last slide to demonstrate that this tool also, now the next slide. Next slide. Next slide. I'm not concluding yet.
The previous one.
Then the next one. I want to show the tool for the Annex 1 countries as well. Sorry, maybe there isn't a slide. Okay, so just to save time, let me then conclude. It is clear, and we've seen this today in the presentations, that developing countries are in fact doing a lot domestically. And we believe that they can do more. What we need to look at, though, is how do we internationalize all these actions sorry, and ensure overall environmental integrity. Excuse me. We also heard today that enhanced actions by many of the parties that presented can be... Sorry, this is really bad. And this is... Sorry about that, I will try and conclude quickly. We believe that enhanced actions need support, but we also believe that early action is possible and is needed quite urgently. And we have heard many of the presentations today confirm that there are many actions happening, but of course we can do more with support. We also believe that those with more capabilities should act sooner and faster, especially what we would consider to be the major emerging economies. We do believe that there's enough capability to be moving faster and urgently. We feel that a robust MRV system and a registry should be made operational as soon as possible, in fact quite urgently, so that we can enable the recognition of early action, and there have been so many good actions presented here today, as well as the matching of these actions with support. We finally do believe that to ensure environmental integrity in an equitable manner, developed countries must do more, and it is CAN's position that that more should be more than 40%. And that this would then allow developing countries to have the space for sustainable development in order to, in fact, also assist in terms of transitioning their economies to low-emission economies. I thank you.
Thank you, Ken, for that. Thank you, Tasneem. Colleagues.